Operation Deadbolt.
You know, when I put out my thoughts on the first teaser for Modern Warfare Zombies, I was a little hesitant, because I wasn't sure that the game would live up to my expectations, and I'd have wasted my time on a video that wouldn't come to fruition because I wouldn't buy the game. But now with the release of the gameplay trailer and the COD Next presentation for Zombies, I can say with the utmost confidence that I was right to be worried. Since I released that first video, there's been some discussion on what's coming, and even recently, some gameplay footage from bigger YouTubers that got the chance to play the game early. Hello everybody, my name is Quinton, and welcome to Cubo. It would appear that what we've got to look forward to is not in fact the next installment in the round-based roguelike that we've all loved for nearly 15 years, but instead a sidestep of that concept in favor of something with the sole purpose of hitting buzzwords and ease of development. I'm hard-pressed to find much in this trailer that isn't copy and pasted from somewhere else, be it the perk machines, which in fairness we should expect to be the same, or extending to reused bosses like the Mimic, Mangler, Disciple, and Abomination from Cold War, with glorified create-a-character assets slapped onto them with Spackle. Even the map is the upcoming Warzone map, with no word on if it'll even have changes for the mode. Sure, there'll be changes made to fit objectives, but I can't imagine that there's much to make it feel unique. Of course, this isn't entirely new. World at War, Black Ops 1, even lately with Cold War, the Zombies maps have been constructed using assets from the multiplayer and campaign maps. But even then, the majority of the time, these maps have still utilized those assets in relatively creative ways, making the maps feel fresh and unique, whereas this new game mode, because calling this anything other than an entirely new mode adjacent to Zombies would be dishonest, is just the map we'll see in Warzone, more akin to Outbreak from Cold War, copy-pasted over with few to no pertinent changes. Some of the few unique things here would extend to things like this weird Ethereum bike that I'd be remiss not to admit looks pretty dope, alongside the wonder weapon called the Scorcher, which has two modes, like most of the wonder weapons over the last few years. The main fire is a worryingly slow grenade shot, akin to the plague shot of the DIE from Cold War, or the alt fire of the Ray K rifle. The alt fire of this weapon, if you can even call it that, seems to just be a rocket jump that lets you reposition on the map. Which brings me to the main draw of this new game mode. I mentioned buzzwords a second ago, and this is what I meant. The word that keeps coming up is open world. This is, of course, in relation to the Warzone map that this will take place in. There are, I believe, 3 zones, with the Tier 1 zone being absurdly easy for anyone to jump in and screw around. Tier 2 being a good halfway mode, and Tier 3 being the advanced area where you can get the good rewards and boss fights. Each zone has different objectives littered around to give you progressively better rewards that you can either pop on the spot or save for your next game, which bothers me so much. I'm totally in the camp that Zombies works best as a progressive mode, which this is, sure, but I'm talking about starting with weak weapons to fight weak zombies, and your goal is to power up through the game to keep up with the zombies before they steamroll you. The power fantasy you feel when you get your new OP weapon from the mystery box or some Easter egg only really works if it's necessary. The original Zombies maps quantify this best before all the extravagant quests and existential dread that was introduced into the game, which I love, but let me make my point. In World at War and Black Ops 1, there was a sense of panic intrinsic to the mode. You'd be constantly progressing through the map as the undead gradually crept onto you, getting stronger and stronger until you'd find it. The ray gun, the wonder waft, the thunder gun, these incredible weapons that would give you this respite from the horde, allowing you to relish in that power fantasy. This is where I believe Cold War really failed, letting any weapon be that power fantasy, removing much or all of the need to use systems like the box to get better gear. You just pick the weapon you want, and by round 20 it'd be almost as good as any wonder weapon. Now, sure, the wonder weapons in that game were incredibly fun to use, but they don't really fit that power fantasy in the same way. This only got worse as time went on. Treyarch added more upgrades for your perks and field upgrades until everything in the game was simply too powerful to be all that fun. And then there's the super Easter egg allowing you to spawn in with a purple weapon of your choice. That should have been a warning, taking away all of the progression. This was something that COD Vanguard kind of improved upon. Wait, don't leave. Look, I'm not going to make any kind of point that Vanguard Zombies was anything other than a disaster, but there was an attempt to take the power progression in perks and field upgrades from Cold War and allow you to make that progression in-game instead. It was handled very poorly, but to see Treyarch take such a hard U-turn in the other direction is very disheartening. To get back to Modern Warfare Zombies, like I said, you can take most of what you find in the game out of match and carry it over to your next game, including things like pack-a-punch weapons, perks, armor, even the damn wonder weapon. All of this so that players can get into that higher difficulty area and take on the new challenges to create a gameplay loop of constant power fantasy, which, you know, kind of makes it not a power fantasy.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Look, I don't know if that clip really applies, but I couldn't help myself. Now, you may say, this doesn't sound so bad. You can maintain the illusion of progression by just refusing to exfil with these more powerful items, and instead play it more traditionally. Now, that'd be fine, except you don't have the time to progress each game, because there seems to be a hard 60-minute time limit on each match. After an hour, there's an Ethereum cloud that overtakes the map and forces you to exfil or die, though from some gameplay I've seen, it does seem that there has to be some way to extend this timer, as I saw people like Noah J with timers around at least an hour and a half. Within this hour or so, the final goal seems to be the world boss at the center of the map, which I swear is just the Baron Nashor from League of Legends. We haven't seen more than a glimpse of this boss, but word on the street is that the only way to beat it is to gather every player on the map and take them all to go fight the boss at once. Oh, did I forget to mention? Yeah, this game loads you in with up to 24 players, spread across the outer edges of the map, though it seems you can spawn in with parties, potentially up to 6. I can't seem to find a 100% certain answer of the actual number. COD Next mentioned parties of 3, but Noah's footage had him in a party of 6. That does, of course, lead to my next point, that none of this seems very congruent to solo play. I get it, COD's always been a co-op game, and that's just as pronounced in Zombies, but I know damn well I'm not convincing John or Garrett to join me here, and I don't focus enough on Zombies content to get onto squads with Milo and Noah, so my only option is really solo or with randoms, neither of which seems particularly fun. It's even more worrying to see in Noah's gameplay that enemies in the high tiers do seem to be very bullet spongy, with even the ray gun not making much of a dent. This was present in Cold War too, that attempted artificial difficulty spike by making the bosses all but immune to damage unless you hit them in a very specific spot. Even the armored zombies being chunky as all hell, making it all but necessary to use the Ring of Fire field upgrade for high round play, but making it trivial if you did use said upgrade. By the way, I don't know where else to include this in the script, but field upgrades are returning, seeming to be a permanent feature to stay in Zombies from here on out. I've only noticed versions of Tesla Storm and Frostblast from Cold War seeming to have the exact same features, and possibly an Ethereum Blast when you're riding that Aether cycle I mentioned before. But beyond that, I guarantee that others like Ring of Fire and Aether Shroud will be making a return as well. The thing about those was that in Outbreak, only Aether Shroud and Tesla Storm were really used, as those provided a speed boost that came in really handy while traversing the map. And I see this as likely being very similar. To jump topics back to the bosses and such though, it seems that they are the replacement of a traditional Easter egg quest, at least here, as it's been confirmed that there's no quest available at launch, and after Vanguard, I'm not sure I want there to be. Instead, the story will be revealed in 3 acts, whatever that means. It seems by completing certain tasks, you unlock pieces of the story over time, but I'm not really certain how that works. At the end of the day, I'm not sure if this Zombies mode will turn out to be worth it, especially with the $70 price tag increase from a couple years ago. Maybe the story or the camo grind will pull me back in, but until the beta, it's hard to say. I am going to be playing the beta both this weekend and next weekend, hopefully streaming it at least once, but that remains to be seen. I stream every Friday at 4 PM EST, and depending on if I get this video out by Friday, I might be streaming right now or pretty soon. This week I'm streaming a game called The Windows Are Gone, a little indie horror game to match the season. So either subscribe to catch that stream or go to my channel right now. You can probably find the VOD if you're watching this after the fact. While you're at it, subscribe anyway. But that's about all I've got to say on this, at least until the beta comes out. So yeah, be gay, do crimes, and we'll see you next time. Seriously though, the Scorcher? I'm not saying it's better than calling a gun Wonder Weapon in German, but at least that had pizzazz.